Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return, peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I'm Chief Sophia of the Americana Band of Indians, and this is our Feast for Abundance overview where we are going to learn about Jubilees. It is my belief that if you want to get on the proper timeline, you have to get on the celestial timeline. And in the celestial timeline, everything is measured in terms of jubilees, from jubilee to jubilee. So let's start with the book of Jubilees. I just wanted to briefly comment on the page here. This fast will always take place from May 16th to June the 21st. And so we're always going to have a bundle. This is just going to be how we do business. And there's a separate video coming out that will explain the items in the bundle. But I wanted to do this first, but that's what you see on screen. You don't see the candle blessed because I'm not going to show that on screen. Okay. I know some people, they do. I just decided it's not in my best interest at this time. So it will be blessed though. That's just a plain candle, but it will be blessed when you receive it. And some people have ordered their bundles. We're probably going to start by maxing out at 10. And so if you're interested, please send me an email. The website is still kind of under construction, but you have until May the 22nd to let me know if you're interested in this bundle so that you can have the candle to start at the end of the cycle. But the work continues year round. It's just, this is the way that we do it. Okay, so let's go over to, we're going to start with, oh my goodness. Of course, it took me back. We're going to start with the book of Jubilees. And we're going to read the first chapter. You may as well settle in. This is going to take a little bit of explaining. And we have quite a bit of information just to go into. Now, remember, you should be studying Jubilees as much as you study fast. As much as it talks about fasting in the Bible, it talks about Jubilees. And so if you're not spending as much time studying Jubilees as you are studying fast, then things are kind of out of alignment. And it's your responsibility to be in alignment with the energy that's coming in. What I can say, what I do believe is even if you've done no work, because at Pascha, we talked about the sermon from John Chrysostom related to Pascha. And it says, even if you show up at the 9th hour, come and join the feast. So if you've done no spiritual work, if this is your very first spiritual thing that you've even thought about doing, you don't know nothing about your astrology, you know everything about your astrology, but you know nothing about Jesus, that's fine. You are welcome at the feast. I don't care what anyone else says. They're not right. Okay? They're wrong. They are wrong. All are welcome. Large and small, whether you started in the beginning, in the end, whether you're from this planet or you're not, all are welcome at the feast. The table is set. Feast sumptuously. That is what Pascha is about. That is what Jesus coming to this planet and incarnating was about. Everybody has a seat at the table. Okay? There's a table prepared for you. Come and join in the feast. Okay? That is the most important thing. So is this a time to be arguing with people over whose God is who and all of this stuff? No. A lot of people worship a lot of different gods, and that's fine. A lot of people, it is their bloodline heritage to worship these gods. Why are you involved in their bloodline heritage? Leave them alone. Let them do what's right in their eyes. If they want to come to this land, i.e., America, North America, then they have to worship our God, because our God is the God of this land. Our creator is the God of this land. He is taking care of us specifically. So you cannot worship your foreign gods on our land. You can deal with them, of course, but if you want to worship your foreign gods, you go to your foreign lands, okay? And that needs to be said. Now, doesn't mean you can't honor them, respect your heritage and all of that. No, but if you're going to sacrifice to them, we don't do that. We don't do sacrifice, okay? Our God does not require sacrifice. A broken and contrite heart is what he requires. That's not a physical sacrifice. So you can deal with your gods, but we don't do sacrifices on our land. Okay? That's the rule. That's what the Creator says. That's all. No sacrifices on our land. Okay? So anybody doing sacrifices on our land, especially during our Jubilee, you've been put on notice. There's no sacrifices allowed on our land, especially during our Jubilee. Okay? All right, so we're just going to read the first chapter of the book of Jubilees. And many of you have read this, so, this is just a starting point. All right, this is the history of the division of days, of the law, and of the testimony, of the events of the years, their year or weeks, of their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as the Lord spake to Moses on Mount Sinai, when he went up to receive the tables of the law and of the commandment, according to the voice of God, as he said unto him, go up to the top of the mount. Now remember, the only one who's giving instruction is the feminine. So this is a feminine God he's talking about. Masculine gods don't do instruction. The masculine gods don't do instruction. Feminine gods do instruction, okay? God's revelation to Moses on Mount Sinai. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that God spoke to Moses, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up into the mount of God, and the glory of the Lord abode on Mount Sinai, and a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a flaming fire on the top of the mount. And Moses was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And God taught him the earlier and the later history of the division of all the days, and of the law and of the testimony. And he said, incline thine heart to every word which I shall speak to thee on this mount, and write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and thee for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions. And they will recognize that I have truly been with them. And do thou write for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day. For I know their rebellion and their stiff neck, before I bring them into the land which I swear to their fathers, to Abraham and to Isaac and to Jacob, saying, unto your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, to gods which cannot deliver them from aught of their tribulation. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them, and they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods. And these will prove unto them an offense and a tribulation and an affliction and a snare. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances and my commandments, and the festivals of my covenant, and my Sabbaths, and my holy place, which I have allowed for myself in their midst, and my tabernacle and my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself in the midst of the land, that I should set my name upon it, and that it should dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places and groves and graven images, and they will worship each his own graven image, so as to go astray. And they will sacrifice their children to demons and all the works of the error of their hearts. And I will send witnesses unto them, that I may witness against them, but they will not hear, and will slay the witnesses also. And they will persecute those who seek the law, and they will abrogate and change everything, so as to work evil before my eyes. And I shall hide my face from them, and I shall deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles for captivity and for prey and for devouring. And I shall remove them from the midst of the land, and I shall scatter them amongst the Gentiles, and they will forget all my law and all my commandments and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons and Sabbaths, festivals and jubilees and ordinances. And after this they will turn to me from amongst the Gentiles with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength. And I shall gather them from amongst the Gentiles, and they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them when they seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I shall disclose to them an abounding peace with righteousness. And I shall remove them the plant of uprightness, and with all my heart and with all my soul. And they will be for a blessing and not for a curse. And they will be the head and not the tail. And I shall build my sanctuary in their midst, and I shall dwell with them, and I shall be their God, and they will be my people in truth and righteousness. And I shall not forsake them nor fail them, for I am the Lord their God. And Moses fell on his face and prayed and said, O Lord my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance. So, that's something, I'm sorry, pause right here. O Lord my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance. We say that every single Sunday at church. Okay. Out. Leave, please. I'm in the middle of something. We say that every Sunday at church, okay? O Lord, my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance, so that they should wander in the error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they should rule over them and cause them to sin against thee. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be lifted up upon thy people, and create in them an upright spirit. And let not the spirit of Beliar rule over them, to accuse them before thee, and to ensnare them from all the paths of righteousness, so that they may perish from before thy face. But they are thy people and thy inheritance, with thou hast delivered thy great power from the hands of the Egyptians, creating them a clean heart and a holy spirit, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity. And the Lord said unto Moses, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stiff-neckedness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers. And after this they will turn to me in all uprightness with all their heart and with all their soul, and I shall circumcise the foreskin of their heart and the foreskin of the heart of their seed, and I shall create in them a holy spirit, and I shall cleanse them, so that they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity. And their souls will cleave to me and to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments, and I shall be their father, and they will be my children. And they will all be called children of the living God, and every angel and every spirit will know, yea, they will know that these are my children, that I am their father in uprightness and righteousness, and that I love them. And do thou write down for thyself all these words, which I declare unto thee on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall come to pass in all the divisions of the days, in the law and in the testimony, and in the weeks and in the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. All right, so this is from the book of Jubilees. So it says that people are going to turn away, people are going to do whatever, and the part that they're really scared about is that the Creator is going to turn back towards us. And we're going to talk about that when we get into the New Testament. But first, let's take a look at we're going to start with Leviticus. Now, this is not on the screen. What you see on the screen is another part of Leviticus, but we're going to read this in a slightly different order. We are going to start with this one. We're going to start with Leviticus 23, verse 1. Now, I'm going to read this from my Orthodox Study Bible because it has some notes in here that I also want to read out. So, I'll indicate when I pause to read the notes, okay? So the feast of the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, The feast of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath rest, a holy convocation to the Lord. You shall do no work on it. It is a Sabbath to the Lord in all your dwellings. So the note for this says, the account follows is not the entire Jewish calendars. These are the fixed feasts where a convocation, a coming together of the people was required. The focused attention on the Lord by means of sanctification of time and life. Exodus 31:13 says, in this regard, you shall direct the children of Israel, saying, See to it that you keep my Sabbaths, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord who sanctifies you. Listen, you don't sanctify yourself. The Lord sanctifies you. So, if you're sanctified by the Lord, you keep the Sabbaths. If you want to be sanctified by the Lord, you keep the Sabbaths. Keeping the Sabbath is the most important thing that you could do. It is the crux of ensuring that you are identified as a child of the Creator. Okay? Pascha and unleavened bread. This is verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, holy convocations, which you shall proclaim at their appointed times. On the 14th day of the first month, at twilight, is the Pascha to the Lord. Then on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no service work on it, but you shall offer a whole burnt offering to the Lord for 7 days. The 7th day shall be a holy convocation, and you shall do no service work. So the note for that is Pascha or Passover, sanctified Israel. So Pascha and Passover are the same thing. We just call it Pascha, but it's also called Passover. Sanctified Israel's time and life as a sign pointing them to the coming incarnation of the Lord. In this feast, they were to remember him and what he did for them in delivering them from Egyptian bondage. But more importantly, it pointed them to his coming in the flesh. They were to know him in the blood of a slain lamb, a sign pointing to him as the Lamb of God. Yet when he became incarnate as this lamb, they did not recognize their own Lord who had delivered them from Egypt. Pascha also sanctifies the time and life of the great church each year, but not as a sign, for the church is sanctified by the fulfillment of the sign. Great Lent, Holy Week, and Easter define this fulfillment, and the church is sanctified by the death and the resurrection of Christ. Thus, the spiritual life is deepened and God's people come to know the incarnate Lord more intimately. You are sanctified by his death. Well, really his life, not his death. Because he lives, Christ is risen, you are sanctified. Period. Point blank in the story. You don't need a sacrifice. A broken and contrite heart is good enough because the blood has already been shed for you. So you don't need to shed blood. Okay? Although women still shed blood. So that's another thing. All right. So this is the Feast of Harvest. Verse 9. Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When you come into the land I shall give you and reap its harvest, you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits from your harvest to the priest. He shall offer the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted on your behalf. On the morning after the first day, the priest shall offer it. Then you shall offer on that day which you offer the sheaf, a sheep of the first year without blemish as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. Its grain offering shall be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, a sacrifice to the Lord for a sweet aroma to the Lord. And its drink offering shall be of wine 1/4 of hin. You shall eat neither bread nor roasted fresh ears until the same day you have offered gifts to your God. It shall be an ordinance forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Then you shall count for yourselves from the morning following the Sabbath day, from the day you brought the sheaf out the deposit, 7 full weeks. Count 50 days to the day after the seventh Sabbath. Then you shall offer a new grain offering to the Lord. You shall bring from your dwellings 2 deposit loaves of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits to the Lord. Then you shall offer with the bread 7 lambs of the first year without blemish, 1 young bull, 2 rams without blemish. They shall be a whole burnt offering to the Lord with their grain offering and drink offerings, a sacrifice for a sweet aroma to the Lord. After this, you shall sacrifice 1 kid of the goats as a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year as a sacrifice of a peace offering with the loaves of the first fruits. The priest shall deposit them with the loaves of the first fruits as a deposit offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy things to the Lord, and for the priest who presented them, his shall they be. Then you shall proclaim the same day as a holy convocation for you. You shall do no service work on it. It shall be an ordinance forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not wholly reap the corners of your field when you reap, nor shall you gather any gleanings from your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and the resident alien. I am the Lord your God. Even the Creator even thought of the poor and the resident aliens. This is why not growing any of your own food is a problem, because you're supposed to leave some there for the poor and the resident alien to glean from. But what is there? There's nothing. All we have is money, and people are not even doing the money the way that they're supposed to. Okay. All right. Let's see what Gnosis says. Okay. The Feast of Pentecost also sanctified the time and life of Israel as a sign pointing them to the coming of the Holy Spirit and the harvesting of the church. It was precisely 7 full Sabbaths, 49 days, plus 1 day after Pascha, marked the completion of the grain harvest. Here, the offering was not a sheaf of grain, but rather baked loaves, signifying the church. Thus, Pentecost also sanctifies the time and life of the church each year, but not as a sign, for Christ is the sheaf, the first fruit. The loaves are many from the harvest, those from Christ and in Christ. Those are from Christ and in Christ, in the church. In John 12:24, Jesus said, "Most assuredly I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. The grain is the church, harvested by the Holy Spirit." Hence, the ancient feast of Pentecost prophetically prefigures the birth of the church through Christ and the Holy Spirit. At the same time, it also signifies the beginning and the end of the age. On the day of Pentecost, 50 days after the resurrection of Christ, the Apostle Peter quoted the prophet Joel to explain what is taking place. "It shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh." Acts 2:17. The gifts of the spirit of the age of God's kingdom are given to the people of God while still living in this age as a foretaste of the world to come. So we're supposed to be with the Holy Spirit now. But that's neither here nor there. Y'all don't even go to church. So let's keep moving on. The next feast is the Feast of Trumpets. So I'll read through the next 2. We don't have any comments until we get to 39. So trumpets, the new year. Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have a rest, a memorial of trumpets, a holy convocation for you. You shall do no service work on it, and you shall offer a whole burnt offering to the Lord." Day of Atonement. Moreover, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Also, the 10th day of this 7th month shall be the Day of Atonement. It shall be a holy convocation for you. You shall humble your souls and offer a whole burnt offering to the Lord. And you shall do no work on the same day, for it is a day of atonement, at 1 mint, as I pointed out, to make atonement for you before the Lord your God. For any soul who is not humbled on destroyed. For any soul who is not humbled on the same day shall be utterly destroyed from among his people. Any soul who does not work on the same day, that soul shall be destroyed from among his people. You shall not do any work. This is an ordinance forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be a Sabbath of Sabbaths for you, and you shall humble your souls. From the 9th day of the month, from evening to evening, you shall celebrate your Sabbaths, really from morning to morning. Sunrise to sunrise, okay? Again. Okay, I'm not done. Okay. Close the door, please. Feast of Tabernacles. Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Lord. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no service work on it. For 7 days you shall offer whole burnt offerings to the Lord. Then on the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation, and you shall offer whole burnt offerings to the Lord. It is the final day of the festival for you, and you shall do no service work on it. These are the feasts of the Lord. These are the feasts to the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer whole burnt offerings to the Lord, whole burnt offerings and their grain and drink offerings, everything on its day, besides the Sabbaths to the Lord, and besides your gifts, all your vows and your freewill offerings, which you give to the Lord. Verse 39, also on the 15th day of this 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast to the Lord for 7 days. On the 7th day, on the first day there shall be a rest, and on the 8th day a rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the ripe fruit of a tree, leaves of palm trees, branches of leafy trees, and the pure willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord for 7 days in the year. It shall be an ordinance forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites, shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses declared to the children of Israel the feast of the Lord. Let's read the note for 39. The feast on the 8th day after there was a feast on the 8th day after the tabernacles began. It was the end date, the leave taking of the Feast of Tabernacles. It completed the feast of the 7th month as well. This final day was the consummation or great high point of the feast. It was the 8th day, the first day of the season of rest. The day itself was to be a day of complete rest. No work whatsoever was to be done. The planting, cultivating, and harvesting had all been accomplished. Now it was time to rest. That 8th day was a type of the new creation, the day that never ends, when all our labors and trials are over. It is a day of establishment of the eternal kingdom of God in its fullness. All is completed. All is renewed. All is at rest. The true new world has begun. It is the fulfillment of the work of Christ for us. So let's look at that word booths, because when I read that, I did not see tents. I know people, they go out and they get in tents. I know that's what the people do in that place that they pick to call Israel. But we got to look at this, because it's kind of, it says you got to go dwell in a booth. You better know what it means. All right, so we're in the Hebrew Bible here, as you can see. We're going to look at 23:42. Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days, that are Israel, Elam, born shall dwell in booths. So native Israels, okay? So let's look at that word booths. All right. I got to get another page ready. Hold on, y'all. I should have had this open already, because we're going to go into Job. Okay. I didn't have it open? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I had a... Hey, Mama. I'm not done yet, okay? Hey, Mama. Okay. Please leave. Thank you. Mama. Oh, my gosh. Oh, here we go. I went too far. All right. So this... Please close the door. This word, booths, it says... Oh, let me go back to the top. I'm sorry. It says Sukkah, right? Sukkah. That's where they get the Feast of tabernacles. It's the Feast of Tents. Okay, allegedly, that's what people say. Sukkoth is a tent. The definition, it says a thicket, covert, or booth. Right, a rude or temporary shelter. Wait. Rude or temporary. Now, I'm in a lot of temporary shelters. They're called hotels. Right? I go on a cruise. I say in a temporary shelter. It's a cruise ship. It's just not at home. It's away from home. Okay. So let's look at similar definitions. They use the word booth over here in Job 27 and 18. So we're gonna read Job 27. I'm gonna read it from my Orthodox Bible. So I'm gonna read all of 27, and then I'm gonna point out where they use the same word. The title of this chapter is Job will hold fast to righteousness. Moreover, Job continued his speech and said, as the Lord lives, who thus judges me, and the Almighty who embittered my soul, surely as long as my breath is in me, and the divine breath is in my nostrils, my lips will not speak lawless things, nor shall my soul practice wrongdoings. May it not be I who set forth the opinion that you are righteous. Until the day I die, I will not put away my integrity from me. I hold fast to my righteousness and am not letting go, for I am not conscious in myself of having done anything wrong. Surely not, but rather my enemies be as the destruction of the ungodly, and those who rise up against me as the destruction of the lawless. For what hope is there for an ungodly man that holds to it? Will he trust in the Lord and be saved? Will the Lord hear his prayer when distress comes upon him? Has he any confidence before him? Or will the Lord hear him when he calls on him? But indeed, I will tell you what is in the hand of the Lord. I will not lie concerning what is with the Almighty. Behold, therefore, all of you know you are adding vanity to vanity. Let's read what vanity to vanity means. Actually, there's a couple comments. Let me go back. Okay, it says, okay, it talks about, okay, I'm not gonna do that one. Okay, 26 and 7, it says, how can Job say he has not done anything wrong, considering that he accuses himself of having sinned? Because even righteous men find it difficult to avoid involuntary sin. For what man's heart, bound up with this corruptible flesh, does not slip in ill-bent thought? But when there is a resisting of the thought, the soul is freed from being confounded. And so the mind of the righteous, even though it is free from bad practice, sometimes falls to the ground with bad thinking. That's really important, okay? All right, so let's keep going. Verse 13 of chapter 27 of Job. This is the portion from man, the Lord, for this is the portion from the Lord for the ungodly man, and the possession of oppressors shall come upon him from the Almighty. If their children be many, they will be for slaughter. If they reach manhood, they will beg. Those who survive him shall be buried in death, and no one will have pity on their widows. Though he gathers silver like dust and shall prepare gold like clay, the righteous will acquire these things, and the true ones will possess his wealth, and his house goes away like a moth and like a spider's web. That's the same word booth. When it says house here, his house goes away like a moth and like a spider's web. The rich man will lie down and not continue. He opens his eyes, but no more. Pains happen to him like a flood, and thick darkness takes him away in the night. A burning wind will take him up, and he will be gone, and it will scatter him from his place. It will blow against him and not spare. He will try in vain to flee from his force. It will strike him with its power and whistle him from his place. When they say booth, they're talking about the same kind of dwelling that the rich man dwelt in. So do you think they're talking about a tent? Now listen, it says right here, Job, let's look at Jonah 4 and 5. Let's see what it says. I didn't even look at that one. I think I did. Let's see if I can find Jonah. Lord, this Bible is a little bit different, and Jonah is such a small book. Let's see if it's same. Jeremiah. Oh, I saw it. Jonah 4 and 5. Oh, Lord, it's a miracle I found this book. Okay, so Jonah 4 and 5 says, and Jonah went out of the city and seated himself opposite it. There he made himself a tent and sat under its shade until he might observe what would happen to the city. Okay, so in Jonah, it's talking about perhaps a tent, like maybe. But for sure, in Job, it's talking about a rich man's house. So first of all, Job is saying that these people who do wickedness will be cursed so that their house will be left for basically the Israelites to come and take over. Because it said they're going to store up gold. They're going to store up silver. The Israelites are going to come and take over it. So the Feast of Sukkot is when the Israelites went to houses abandoned by rich people and lived in them. Or hotels. Places that were prepared for them. Whether they prepared them or someone else prepared them. There were places that were prepared. Even this thing with Jonah. Was it a real tent or was it a house that was already there where he just sat on and no one was there? It was taken over by, whatever, and he just went in and just hung out there. Because it was already there. He made a tent does not mean that he built it. It means that he could mean that he cleaned it up. He saw it was dirty. He cleaned it up and said, I'm going to sit here and wait and see what happens to these people. So this is just for consideration. A booth is not necessarily a tent. Okay. Now, let's look at the Jubilee year. That's Leviticus 25. So I'll leave this on the screen, but we're going to move to 25. This is really important. All right. Now, the Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land that I give you, then the land shall keep a Sabbath to the Lord. 6 years shall you sow your field, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather its fruit. But in the 7th year, there shall be a Sabbath rest for the land and a Sabbath to the Lord. You shall neither sow your field nor prune your vineyard. What grows by itself in your field, you shall not reap, nor gather the grapes of the vines you dedicated. For it is a year of rest for the land. So the products of the land during the Sabbath year shall be food for you, your male and female servants, your hired men, and the alien who dwells with you, and for your cattle and the wild animals in your land. All its produce shall be for food, not for sale, not for storing up. It's supposed to be for food. It's just everybody gets a year where they're going to eat. Okay. The year of Jubilee. So this is verse 8. Or remission. It's called a year of remission in here. Let me see. Okay. You shall count 7 years of rest for yourself. 7 times 7 years, and the time of 7 weeks of years shall be to you 49 years. 7 weeks of years is 49 years. Understand that. So when they use back into your book of Jubilees, when they say 7 weeks of years, that's really 7 times 7. 7 years times 7 years. Okay, that's the way that they describe it. Okay. Then you shall sound the trumpet throughout your land on the 10th day of the 7th month. On the day of atonement, you shall make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. Then you shall sanctify the 50th year and proclaim remission throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall signal the year of remission for you, and each of you shall return to his possession. and each of you shall return to his homeland. That 50th year shall be the signal of remission for you. In it you shall neither sow nor reap what grows by itself, nor gather its sanctified things, for it is the signal of remission. It shall be holy to you. You shall eat its produce from the field. In this year of remission, each shall return to his possession. Also, if you should make a sale of land to your neighbor or buy it from him, let a man not oppress his neighbor. According to the number of years after the signal, you shall buy land tenure from your neighbor, and he shall sell tenure to you according to the number of years of crops. According to the increase of years, his acquisition price for the tenure should be increased, and according to fewer number of years, his price should be diminished, for he sells to you according to the number of the crops. Therefore, let not a man oppress his neighbor, but you shall fear the Lord your God, for I am the Lord your God. Basically, I'm not going to say this, but I'm not going to read the notes because I want to make my own note. What they're saying is, if you sold your land to somebody because you were on hard times, you needed money, whatever the case may be, in the year of remission, you can redeem it. You can buy it back. Also, if you bought land from your neighbor, they were having hard times or whatever, and a year of remission, you sell the land back to them. You settle your debts. So every 7 years there was a year. Every 7th year was a year off, not a year off. Every 7th year was a year off, and every 50th year was a year off. But the 50th year off was a year that you canceled out the debts. On the 7th year, you just rested. On the 50th year, you canceled the debts. On the 50th year, you didn't sow from the land. So think about this. That means you had the 7th year of the 7th year off, because it's the 7th year, plus the 50th year off. That's 2 years. 2 years gone. You come back at the start of the 3rd year, which is the 51st year. 2 years you're gone off the land. Now I say this because it is my theory that when they came to this land, that was our year of remission. That was our Jubilee year that we observed on this land. And so we were gone for 2 years. It wasn't, oh, you're gone for a year. We were gone for 2 years. And when we came back on the 3rd year, because you spend the whole year like that. You don't start leaving to come back until the end of the 2nd year. You've observed the change of stations. Then you start to move. You try to get back in 14 days if you can for your Passover. But if you can't, it's kind of a weird year because it's the 1st year. When we got back from our vacation, wherever we took it, these people had moved into our houses. These people was wearing our underwear. The pictures on the wall, they said, was ours. The gold, the silver, the valuables, the land, everything that we had left to go on our vacation, to let the land do what it's going to do, these people came in and took, because it was our year of remission. And when we came back, everything was gone. They had taken it. And we were like, okay, well, we'll get this back after 50 years. And they never did it. They didn't follow our cycles. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They said, oh, yeah, we'll give it back to you after 50 years. That's why they have 100-year. If you try to get a patent, what is it? It's 100 years because it's 2 Jubilees. And we have to start measuring things in Jubilees. Really important. It was 2 Jubilees. A patent lasts 2 Jubilees. Now, that's against the rules. The rules here say that on the 50th year, you return, the 50th year, you return to your neighbor what is owed to them. So if someone copyrights something that you got from an employee, on that 50th year, you sell it back to them. You give them the ownership of their stuff back. You even out the price, of course, for use or whatever, but you give it back to them. They don't do that. They break these rules, all of them. All of them. Okay. Food for the 7th year. This is verse 18.
Hi, Mama.
Okay, I'm not done yet. So you shall do all. Excuse me, I'm not done yet. So I'm gonna need you to back that way. Okay. Thank you. So you shall do all my ordinances and keep my judgments and do them. Then you will dwell in the land in confidence. Then the land will yield its produce, and you will eat your fill and dwell there in confidence. But if you should say, what shall we eat in this 7th year, since we shall not sow nor gather our produce? Then I will command my blessing on you in the 6th year, and it will bring forth produce enough for 3 years. And you shall sow in the 8th year and eat from the old produce until the 9th year, until the produce harvest comes in. You shall eat of the old harvest. So that's what it's saying. If you're following these rules, the land is going to overproduce the 6th year, so you can take the 7th year off. Enough for the 6th year, the 7th year, the 8th year. That's how it's supposed to go. That's how the creator is supposed to go. So in the 6th year, we were supposed to be, now what is the 6th year, right? It's a 6th year. In the 6th year, which would have been 2022, starting in September, hold on, 2022. When did we have the Pisces full moon? Was on September the 10th. So September the 11th, damn, she died on a full moon too. Golly. September the 11th, we were supposed to produce enough in that year. Oh my gosh, this is awful. We were supposed to produce enough in that year, from September the 11th, 2022 until, let's say, September the 10th, 2023. We were supposed to produce enough to last us the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year. I mean, the 7th year. Yeah, the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year. Now, who listening in 2022 produced enough income to last them 2 years, 3 years? Because that's what it says in this book. That didn't happen. So on the 7th year, which would have been 2023, when we were supposed to rest, we couldn't rest because we hadn't produced enough to rest in the 7th year. So then the 8th year, which is this year, we're still in the 7th year, by the way. So in the 8th year, which starts in the fall, after the day after the Pisces new moon, we're supposed to be eating from 2022 all the way through 2026. I'm sorry. We're going to the 8th year. Who, raise your hand, has resources from 2022 to last you all the way until 2028? Because that's what this book says we were promised. Now, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Did we do the work? Of course we did. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. We still got a couple more Leviticus things to get through. Of course we did the work. But so where's the fruit? Okay. All right. So let's see what's next. I got a list here. Actually, I might do part 2 to do the New Testament stuff. So let's talk about the acceptable offerings. That's Leviticus 22. Like I say, we're going a little bit out of order. 22 and 17, okay? Acceptable and unacceptable offerings. Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and his sons and to the congregation of Israel. Say to them, whatever man of the children of Israel or of the resident aliens dwelling among them in Israel, who offers his gifts in accord with any agreed on offering, or any offering of choice, which they offer to God as a whole burnt offering, to be acceptable on your behalf, they must be males without blemish from the cattle, the sheep, or the goats. Whatever has a defect, you shall not offer it to the Lord, for it shall not be acceptable on your behalf. And whoever offers a sacrifice of peace offering to the Lord from the cattle or the sheep to fulfill his vow, or a free will offering, or in your feast, it must be without blemish to be accepted. Therefore, there shall be no defect in it. Those blind, broken, or with a cut tongue, or afflicted with warts, or having a bad itch, or a skin disease, you shall not offer to the Lord, nor make an offering by fire of them on the altar to the Lord. Either a bull or a sheep that has any ears cut off or shortened tail you may offer for yourself, but for a vow of yours it shall not be accepted. You shall not offer the Lord what is castrated by crushing, bruising, tearing, or extracting, nor shall you make any offering of them in your land, nor from any foreigner's hand shall you offer any of these gifts of your God, because of their corruption is in them, and defects are in them. They shall not be accepted on your behalf. Again, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, when a young bull, a sheep, or a goat is born, it shall be 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day and thereafter it shall be accepted as a gift made by fire to the Lord. Whether it is a young bull or sheep, do not kill both her and her young on the same day. Now, if you offer a sacrifice, a vow rejoicing to the Lord, you shall offer it so as to be acceptable for you. On the same day it shall be eaten. You shall leave none of its flesh until morning. I am the Lord. Therefore, you shall keep my commandments and do them. You shall not defile my holy name, but I will be sanctified among the children of Israel. I am the Lord who sanctifies you, who brings you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. It says what? Don't kill. Listen, when a baby is born, a baby animal is born, leave the baby animal with the mom for 7 days. Not because of the baby. They don't know that they're going to die. But the mother will know. She gave birth. So you can't just rip a child away from a mom like that. They do it all the time. Stuff they're not supposed to do. Also, if a person worships a foreign god, you can't take stuff from them and offer it as a sacrifice to the Creator. This is what I'm talking about. In 2022, we were supposed to have stuff created by our own hands. Not stuff that somebody else gave us that we turn around and try to give to God as our sacrifice. That doesn't work because the wickedness is in them. The wickedness cannot be separated from the item they are offering to sacrifice. But if you procure it with your hands, doing the things that the Creator gave you to do, that negates that issue. That's why you have to do the paperwork. You have to do the work. You have to put in the energy, because if you let one of these wicked people do it, it's going to negate the energy that you're putting into it, because their wickedness cannot be separated from these people. They are wholly wicked. All right, so let's go to Leviticus 26 real quick. And I'm going to make a part 2. All right, we're going to talk about the blessings for obedience. And then I'm not going to read the punishment for disobedience. We don't want to worry about that. We're going to look at the lawbreakers next. All right, blessings for obedience. So this is Leviticus 26. Now you shall not make hand-carved objects for yourselves, neither a carved image nor a pillar shall you rear up for yourselves, nor shall you set up a distinctive stone in your land to worship it. For I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my holy things. I am the Lord. If you walk in my ordinances and keep my commandments and do them, then will I give you rain in its season. The land shall yield its produce. The trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your threshing shall last till the time of vintage, and the vintage shall last till the time of sowing, and you shall eat your bread to the full and dwell in your land safely. War shall not pass through your land, and I will give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and none will make you afraid. And I will utterly destroy the bad animals from the land. You will chase your enemies, and they shall fall by slaughter before you. 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight. Your enemies shall fall by the sword before you, for I will look upon you and make you fruitful, and multiply and establish my covenant with you. You shall eat the old harvest of the past 2 years, and clear out the old because of the new. I will establish my covenant among you, and my soul shall not abhor you. I will walk among you and be your God, and you shall be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brings you out of the land of Egypt, that you should not be their servants. I broke the bands of your yoke and made you walk with confidence. This is what they never wanted us to get to. They never wanted us to walk with confidence. This was always about us saying, oh, we don't know if our Creator wants us to do this. Should we live like this? Should we live like that? No. You'll have to be confident that you are doing what the Creator told you to do. They can never separate us from our Creator. Listen, they have currently, if you are in the United States, you are under at least 5 different sets of laws. 6, actually. And they still cannot keep us from our Creator, even though they have created 6 set of laws on top of the laws we're supposed to follow. They still can't keep us from our Creator. They can never do it. And you have to really keep that in your mind. So the last thing we're going to look at, and then I'm going to do a part 2, is the lawbreaker. So this is Leviticus 20 verses 1 through 9.
Hey, Mom.
I'm not done yet. Please. I'm not done yet. Okay?
Why not?
I'm not done. Penalties for lawbreakers. This is only important, not the disobedience. We're not getting into that. We want to know what about the people who are breaking the law, okay? Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, again, you shall say to the children of Israel, whoever the children of Israel or of the resident aliens dwelling in Israel gives any of his children to worship a ruler, let him be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. I will set my face against that man and will destroy him from among his people, because he gives his children to a ruler to defile my holy things and to profane the names of those sanctified for me. But if the natives of the land disregard that man, taking no notice of him when he gives his children to a ruler, and do not kill him, then I will set my face against that man and those of his kind. For since he and those are in agreement with him prostituted themselves to rulers, I will destroy them from among their people. Also, the soul who follows ventriloquists and charmers to prostitute himself with them, I will set my face against that soul and destroy him from among his people. Therefore, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Period. You shall be holy because I am your Lord and I am holy. That's the end of the sentence. Nothing else is required. Your God is holy, so you're holy. That's it. All that's required. You're holy because your God is holy. If your God is unholy, you're not holy. That's really all that there is to it. Verse 8. You shall keep my ordinances and perform them. I am the Lord who sanctifies you. I am the Lord who sanctifies you. Again, you're holy because I'm holy. You're sanctified because I sanctified you. That's it. No preacher, no pastor, no church, no group, none of that. You're holy because I'm holy. You're sanctified because I sanctified you. That's it. So all this, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, you need to do this. No. You're holy because I'm holy. You're sanctified because I'm sanctified. Verse 9. Whatever man curses his father or mother shall surely be put to death. He cursed his father or his mother, thus he shall be guilty. Did you curse your father, the Creator? Did you curse your mother? You following the Shema? The Lord our God is one. If you curse the mother, you curse the father. If you curse the father, you curse the mother. Then it goes into what happens to you. But first we don't need to worry about what happened to these people. I'm not worried about it because guess what it says? To avoid all of this, you see somebody doing some wickedness, you don't pay them no attention. You say, oh, okay, all right. They're over there doing that. That's on them, and I'm going to stay out of it. That's all. That's all the Creator requires you. You don't have to condemn them, call them out, make a fool of them, rant and rave. None of that. You just ignore them. You say, oh, okay. All right, well, that's on them. It's not on me. That's all that's required. Can you do that? Can you do that? So this is part 1. This is the Old Testament Jubilee. This is not the end of the Jubilee information. But we're going to put a pause in it because I know this video is long. I'm just going to make it into a second video. But I want you guys to understand the Jubilee. Let me go back to the other page. The Jubilee is the most important thing. The feast is the most important thing. Feasts are more important than fasts. So we're starting our year with a feast. That's the only thing that makes sense. Now, the New Testament, which we're adherents to over here on this channel, is going to give us more clarification on what the new fasting, what the new feasting is like. Because Jesus, he was a newer person. He changed up the rules a little bit, gave us a little bit of clarification on how to do things in a new time. So that's what we're going to look at in the New Testament. But I want to get the pages set up because there's a lot of scriptures. So we're going to do a part 2. I'm going to go ahead and let this start uploading. And let's get ready to celebrate this feast with joy and gladness. And as much energy as we put into a fast, we're about to put into a feast. So shalom, peace, and blessings. And we'll see you in the next video.